This is Calvin Richardson, and you know I got soul.
All right, Calvin. So I want to start out with your new situation. Eric Benet, you're signed under him with Jordan House and everything. Can you take us back to your first meeting with Eric? What are your first memories of meeting him as an artist?
I met Eric last summer, summer of 2013. Actually, we were on a show together out in Memphis, Tennessee. It's a sisterhood showcase. I remember it like it was yesterday. But Eric had called me like a couple of weeks prior to that, and introduced me to the situation. As far as when I say situation, I mean the possibility of me signing to his new label, Jordan House Records. And so we talked briefly on the phone about that. And when I met him, I met him at the show. After I got done performing, he came backstage and introduced himself formally. And after the show, we went out and had dinner and just ironed everything out. And he was a real cool guy, a real
Right.
down to earth guy. And we've been rolling ever since.
Right. And how did he pitch this whole situation to you? Because I love it. He's kind of taking you around everywhere. Kind of building with what he's built up and bringing you into that situation. How did he pitch it to you?
The way that he pitched it to me, he told me that he had a label situation that he was getting ready to start, and he said the artists that he was interested in signing had to be artists that he was a fan of.
Right.
Prior to this, he said he'd been working his way up to his whole career to get to this point where he can sign artists that he loved their work and have respect for their talent. And yeah, and then basically that was his pitch. And he was like, if you're interested in doing it, I don't know if you're signed to anybody or if you're even free and available to do it. But he said, when I got this situation, he said the very first person that I wanted to approach about it was you, meaning me.
That's awesome.
And I was like, hey, how cool is that? How can I say no to that? And plus, I was a huge fan of Eric Benet's as well. I always have been. His talent is phenomenal. But we just had never met and never did any shows together. Our paths had never crossed.
Right.
But we came together. It was just magic. It's been on ever since.
It's awesome. Now, this is a unique situation, the whole Primary Wave and Jordan House. You've been on a few labels in the past, Universal and Shanachi. How what's the difference between them?
Man, it's a major difference. I've been at labels before where I had the sense that let me put it like this. I've been told when I was told when I was there that the project was a priority.
Right.
Well, with Primary Wave and Jordan House, like, it's actually I can see it and I can feel it. Like, they're really involved in the project, making things happen, working way harder than me. I've always been the hardest working person on the team, But I feel like now that I have a real team and they're doing all the things. With the social media, making sure I stay on top of that stuff. And I'm not really a social media person, to be honest about it. And there's a lot of different aspects, man, that that making sure that I pay attention to and focus on. They're giving it the proper attention, man, and they're really behind the record. And they didn't get in the way. They let me make the record the way that I wanted to do. Obviously, Eric was involved with the creative process, but he still let me be me, and that was the most important.
That's great. Can you talk a little bit about the creative process for this album?
The creative process, of course. It was a real organic thing. It was basically Eric, and his longtime production partner, DeMonte Posey, and myself. We created, wrote, and DeMonte produced the whole album, except for a couple of songs. This talented guy out of Memphis named John Rich, which is Eric's MD, he produced 2 songs as well. So, basically, man, we got ready to make this album. Eric, DeMonte, and myself, which is the meat and potatoes,
Right.
again, of the whole thing. We went out, I just had a drive, took a drive, and just rode around, went to get some food, and, Eric was like, what kind of album do you really want to make? We talked about it. I told him I wanted to make something that was current, that was, still in my genre, and I wanted to make something that was sexy, but it still wasn't too dark and it wasn't too deep, because I like making records of substance, but sometimes you certain subjects, they take people, a little deeper than they want to go,
Right.
but. When it's dealing with relationships, but it's a healing process. But we came to the conclusion that just Eric told me, he was like, listen, so this is what I'm gonna do. We're gonna come with the music to you, and we're gonna let you vibe to it. And then you, wherever you feel like you want to go with this, just do it. Anything that you want to say on the record, just say it. And if we have to scale it back, or we have to tweak anything, we have to change it, we'll deal with that at that point. But obviously, I didn't write any of it by myself. Like, it was Eric would let me spearhead the direction when it comes to the lyrical content and the melodies, and then he'd come in and we just tweak it up and write it. That was the process, man. It was just easy, just like that.
Cool. And you're getting ready to premiere a new single soon. Can you talk about that?
Yeah, We Gonna Love Tonight.
Okay.
We Gonna Love Tonight. That went through a couple phases of evolution. It evolved to this point. It started out a little bit more explicit, and so we had to go in and what should I say? Scale it back a little bit vocally, you know what I mean? Make it a little bit more rated G.
Right.
And so, but it's just basically dealing with a relationship, man. Relationships and the things that we do on a more intimate setting, you know what I mean? And it's just a little bit more detailed out, you know what I mean? So, but like I said, we brought it up to the point that We Gonna Love Tonight, and it's a great song. It's a very sexy song, got a great groove to it. Cool. I love it.
Your last album was in 2010, so do you look at this as a reintroduction at all, or a new start in any way, or just the next step in your career? How do you view it?
I mean, I look at it both ways, man. It's yet another step to my career, but I think it's the re-emergence of Calvin Richardson, because there's a lot of people out there. I have a pretty vast fan base and loyal fans, but there's a lot of people out there that's still not knowing who Calvin Richardson is, and so it's another way to reintroduce myself to all of those people that never really got a chance to meet me,
right.
And say, hey, what's up? I'm Calvin Richardson, and check me out. That's what this is,
Right. And this final question, and it's something you touched on. You've got loyal fans, and I've always admired that even when you didn't have an album out, you could still tour heavily, and people will pack it out.
Right.
What do you think what do your fans love about you the most?
Well, my strongest point, I think, is my live performances, because I have making records. I haven't done that all my life, but I've been singing all my life. So that's like second nature, and that's my first love, and I love to do it. And I think the fans, man, people that see me, even if they're not a fan, the first time when they see me, they get it. They understand that I love being on the stage. It's just there's a connection with me, and the people that I have, that's in the audience. I find a way to connect with them, and even if I'm not looking at them or directing, my attention directly at them, they get it. They get what I'm putting out there, man, and then they're drawn in by it. And from that point on, man, if they see it one time, they want to see it again. Right. And so, I've been blessed in that aspect, man. Like you said, to still be able to tour even without a record out. People still want to see me.
Right. It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So that's all we have for you. Anything you want to add?
Nah, I just want to thank everybody that's been supporting me thus far. Want to say, hey, I got a lot of good music, a lot of new music coming out, and come on, take this ride with me this time, and let's see how far we can take it together. And no telling what we can do.
Cool.